There is a group of conjunctions in English which are used to show the relationship between two actions in time, which means that these conjunctions are used in sentences which are made up of two clauses. Each clause contains an action, and these two actions have a certain time relationship that connects them with each other. In today's video, we will be talking about some of these conjunctions. Precisely, we will be talking about the conjunctions as, when, while, and we will also be having a quick look on no sooner, hardly, barely, and scarcely. Right, so let's begin with the first three, which are usually studied as one unit or as one package, and I'm talking here about the conjunctions as, while, and when. Well, all of these three conjunctions can be used with the meaning of during the time that. During the time that. For example, I can say, as Dave was eating, the doorbell rang. As Dave was eating, the doorbell rang. This means during the time that Dave was eating, the doorbell rang. And we can replace as in this example with when or while. So we can say when Dave was eating or while Dave was eating. Right, so the three conjunctions as, while, and when are synonyms some way or another, and they have the meaning of during the time that. Usually, these three conjunctions, as, when, and while, are used in sentences which are composed of two clauses, a past continuous clause and a past simple clause. So you have two verbs in the sentence. One of them is in the past continuous and the other is in the past simple, and we have explained these two tenses thoroughly in previous videos. The three conjunctions, the three of them, can introduce the past continuous clause, which means that you can use either of them in the past continuous clause, in the clause that contains the verb conjugated in the past continuous. But only when, so as and while cannot be used in this sense, only when can be used to introduce the past simple clause. For example, you say, they were playing in a garden when they heard a scream. So we have two clauses here. The past continuous clause is they were playing in a garden, and the past simple clause is they heard a scream. We cannot introduce they heard a scream with while or as. We have to introduce it only with when. So the right way we say this sentence is they were playing in a garden when they heard a scream. And as we said, we can use the three of them to introduce past continuous clauses. For example, you can say, as I was walking down the street, I saw an old friend. As I was walking down the street, I saw an old friend. So I was walking down the street. This is a past continuous clause. We introduce it with as, and the other clause is in the past simple. I saw an old friend. Also, we can use while to introduce a past continuous clause. For example, while I was studying, my brother was watching TV. While I was studying, that's a past continuous clause introduced by while. Right. So the point I'm trying to make here is that you can introduce the past continuous clause with any of the three conjunctions as, while, or when, But the past simple clause can be introduced only by when. When can also be used with the meaning of every time. So the conjunction when, it doesn't only mean during the time that, which we have already discussed, but it can also mean every time. For example, I still feel tired when I wake up in the morning. I still feel tired when I wake up in the morning, which means every time I wake up in the morning. So in this example, the sense in which we are using when with is every time. When in this context means every time. I still feel tired when I wake up in the morning, or every time I wake up in the morning. Also, another special feature for when, which is not applicable on as or while, is introducing short events. So when we talked about as and while a couple of minutes ago, we said that they are used to introduce past continuous clauses, and past continuous is used to refer to long actions, background actions, during which a short sudden action happened, which is conjugated in the past simple. I'm talking here about the short or the sudden action. This means that as and while introduce long actions because they are used with the past continuous typically, but when can introduce a short action, and that's why it can be used to introduce a past simple clause. For example, we can say, when the lights went out, I lit some candles. Here we have two clauses for two short actions, and that's why both of the two actions are conjugated in the past simple. When the lights went out, that's a past simple, went out, I lit some candles. Lit is the past simple of light. So the point we are making here is that when is used to introduce short events or to introduce clauses utilizing the past simple tense. As, I'm talking here specifically or precisely about the conjunction as, can be used also to say that when one thing changes, another thing changes at the same time. For example, we can say, as the cheese matures, its flavor improves. So the two actions occur at the same time. Each one of them occurs gradually over time, or it changes gradually over time. So we say as the cheese matures, becomes more mature, its flavor improves. So the improvement in the flavor happens gradually at the same time of maturing the cheese. Right. Also, we can use both while and as to talk about two past long actions that were happening at the same time. We call them simultaneous or simultaneous actions. So we can use as or while to talk about two long actions that happened in the past or that went on at the same time in the past. You can conjugate the two verbs or the two actions either in the past continuous or in the past simple. For example, you can say, I went shopping while Linda cleaned the house. So the two actions here are conjugated in the past simple. I went shopping, past simple, while or as Linda cleaned the house. Cleaned is a past simple action as well. And we can also say, it's an example that we mentioned earlier, as I was studying, my brother was watching TV. As I was studying, past continuous, I was studying, My brother was watching TV. So the two past actions happened simultaneously or at the same time, and we connect them with as or while. Both of them are possible in this context, and you conjugate the two verbs either in the past simple or in the past continuous. We can also use the conjunction as with the meaning of because. And here, as is not considered a conjunction of time. It's considered a conjunction of reason. And we talked about the clauses of reason in our previous video. You can watch it because it gives you a lot of information about clauses of reason and answering the question why a specific action happens or happened. So, in addition to all the usages that we have mentioned for the conjunction as in this video, it can also be used with the meaning of because, similar to since. For example, you can say, as you were playing golf, I went to the cinema. This means because you were playing golf, so I don't like golf, so I didn't go with you to the court or to the field to play golf. I went to the cinema. The match was cancelled as the weather was horrible, which means because the weather was horrible. So in these examples, as you can see, we are using as not as a conjunction of time, but as a conjunction of reason to answer the question why, and it means because. The last point I would like to talk about in today's lesson is about 3 or 4 conjunctions called no sooner, hardly, scarcely, barely. Well, these conjunctions are used to say that one event happened immediately after another event in the past. So, when we were talking about when, while, and as earlier in this video, we said that typically the sentence contains 2 actions, either 2 long actions that happened at the same time or that were going on at the same time, like in parallel to each other, or we can have a long action which is interrupted by a short action, a background action cut by a sudden action. But with these conjunctions we're talking about now, we have 2 past actions, that's right, but they are not simultaneous and no one is interrupting the other. No, we have 2 actions consecutive or successive, like they happen one after the other, one after another. And the second action of them, or the action that happened second, occurred immediately after the first one. No sooner is complemented with than or when, and hardly, barely, and scarcely are complemented by when or before. Let's have some examples. I had no sooner lit the barbecue. I had no sooner lit the barbecue than or when it rained. So as you can see, since we have 2 actions in these sentences, one of them happened first and the other one followed it, the earlier action, that's the action that happened first, we conjugate it in the past perfect, had plus past participle. The more recent action, or the action that happened later, the second action, we conjugated in the past simple. And that's why we said, I had no sooner lit. So that's the first action. This is the action that happened first. So we conjugate it in the past perfect, saying, I had no sooner lit the barbecue than or when. This is what I meant when I said that no sooner is complemented with than or when. Like in the second part of the sentence, you need to use than or when. So than or when And then past simple, it started to rain. So I lit the barbecue first, and then it started to rain. Let's have an example on hardly, barely, and scarcely. And by the way, the three of them are synonyms to each other. You can use either of them instead of the other. They can be used interchangeably. You can say, for example, the concert had barely begun. First action, past perfect, because that's the earlier action. That's the action that happened before the other. So the concert had barely begun, or had scarcely begun, or had hardly begun. You can use any of the three. Before or when the lights went out. So that's why I said earlier that hardly, barely, and scarcely are complemented by before or when. So we say before or when, either of them, the lights went out. And we put the second action or the second clause, the light went out, in the past simple. And we're talking here about the second action that happened later after the first one. So this means that no sooner than or when, hardly, barely, scarcely, when or before, all of these patterns or all of these grammatical structures are used to talk about two actions that happened in the past. But these two actions are neither parallel or simultaneous, nor one of them interrupting the other. No, we use these patterns or these structures to refer to two past actions that happened successively or consecutively, meaning that the first action happened and finished, and then the second action occurred or took place or followed after it. The action that happened first, I'm talking about the action that happened first, not necessarily mentioned first in the sentence. I'm talking about the meaning here. The action that happened earlier is conjugated in the past perfect, and the action that follows or that happens after it is conjugated in the past simple. So in this video today, we were talking about conjunctions of time. And actually, this video completes a series of videos that we have published on our channel here, Pure English. And this series of videos tackles the topic of conjunctions. We had a video about conjunctions of contrast or concession, conjunctions of purpose, conjunctions of reason, and conjunctions of time. Please refer to all these videos because they can be highly instrumental, very helpful for you, especially in your writing. If your job or your study requires you to write in English, utilizing and employing these conjunctions correctly and effectively can improve and boost the quality of your writing big time. So I hope that all the content I present on this channel lives up to your expectations. And please feel free to leave any comments down there in the comment box. It gives me a lot of pleasure to respond to your comments, whether your comments present suggestions or remarks or requests. And if the content I present on the channel appeals to you, please subscribe to the channel, interact with the videos through liking them, and also share the videos that you think can be useful to your friends and family members so that our community on Pure English grows and I keep posting content that benefits you and everyone you might know or you might be concerned about. Thank you very much for following and for your attentive listening, and I look forward to seeing you in our next lesson. Enjoy the rest of your day.